Opinion: white supremacists are anything but supreme. Live video. Editors note the opinions in this article are the authors, as published by our content partner, and do not necessarily represent the views of MSN or Microsoft. Words are not innocuous, but matter. Symbols are interchangeable, thus words as symbols matter. Unfortunately, other than in the delusional rationalization of those self-labeling goss white racist hate mongers. To use the colloquial, danger comes when we allow free expression to foolishly be justified as carte blanche First Amendment protection, despite such expression violating any standard of common decency. It is intuitive that outlawing such expression serves a greater justice than allowing such expression to persist unchecked and protected under the guise of the U.S. Constitution. For absolutists forbid us from usurping the freedom of white supremacy to be aired on television, radio, the internet, print, clothing, billboards, and any other medium to disseminate putrid hate. This argument being, first, this is not a binary proposition and at worst a false dichotomy, in that common-sense censorship per situation does not entail a massacre of all language and its distribution. Second, there is also a counter-slippery slope that if
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.